Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on that like button if you like my video. Also click on that notification bell. Thank you. Hey boys and girls, in this video we are going to learn how we could access our ESXi server through vSphere environment. Now when you access the ESXi through a browser, that portal that you will see, it's called the vSphere. Now the newer version of ESXi vSphere environment runs on HTML5 technology. Still, you'll use the web browser. You do not have to install any plugin, any downloadable client, or anything on your computer to access that. So we know that we have downloaded, we have installed, and we have configured ESXi server. It's all done. We know it has an IP address. And we see that in the ESXi console by changing its setting, the host name and stuff. So that part is done. Now, on that console, we really cannot do anything except the ESXi small management. Everything that you have to do on the virtualization, meaning creating virtual machines, for that purpose, you have to go to vSphere environment. Okay. So now take an example. You have a Windows PC and you need to access it remotely. What do? You actually open up your remote desktop connection, right? Which is also called RDP. You input the IP address of your Windows PC and click on connect, and it allows you to connect remotely. Beautiful. Same thing for Linux server. If you want to connect it to Linux server remotely, you need a client like PuTTY or Secure CRT and many other clients. Once again, you input the IP address of your Linux machine, connect it through port 22 because that's where the SSH port connects to, and you will have connection to it. Now comes our ESXi server. We have installed it. Now we need to access it, and for that you need an internet browser. On your computer, if you're using Mac, if you're using Linux, Ubuntu, or Windows PC, it doesn't really matter. We all have browsers. Start up the browser, enter the IP address of the ESXi server, and there you will have the access of ESXi vSphere environment. Okay. So now we know first things first is we will need to make sure if our ESXi server is up and running so we could grab an IP address. All right, so for that, we'll just minimize this. And we'll go to our VMware Workstation player. This is what we have. I know my ESXi server is up and running. If you do not have it up and running, go ahead and power it on. So from here, from this console, you're going to see the IP address of your ESXi server. I have it 192.168.179.128. Awesome. Now I need to open up a browser. You could pick up any browser of your choice. I'm going to go with the Firefox. And let's minimize this and then enter the IP address. Let's say 192.168.179.128. All right. Here we have access to our vSphere ESXi server. Nice. Now let's enter our username and the password. Of course, you remember the username and password, right? This is the exact same username and password that you created when you were going through the installation and configuration of ESXi server. All right, right here, this is the main screen. Get yourself familiar with this. You're going to be working on this portal, on this main screen virtualization vSphere screen. This entire screen is called a vSphere environment. Okay, right here you notice that this is the host name of your ESXi server. Remember we picked ESXi1. That local domain is the fully qualified domain name it picked up itself. It's okay, you can ignore that. This tells you the version that we have installed on the ESXi, the state, and the uptime. Right here, it tells you the CPU that we carved out for our ESXi server, the memory, and the storage that we carved. Now, if you remember, when we were actually created the virtual machine for our ESXi server, we carved out 200 gig of storage. Right here, it is showing 70 gig. It's because, as I stated previously, about 138 gig of disk space is reserved for the newer version of ESXi server now. They keep it for its own scratch partition from logging and all different things that it needs to keep it. Everything else is available. So we created 200 gig. We have 70 gig available. 130 has been used by ESXi. That's fine. You gotta have at least 70 if you want to create one virtual machine, which we will create later on. All right, right here saying you are currently using ESXi in evaluation mode. Yes, of course, this license will expire in 60 days. Yes, all the testing that you have to do, the lab, the learning, make sure you do everything within the 60 days. And I'm sure the 60 days are more than enough for you to learn ESXi basics. Okay, now comes down to the hardware. Hardware right here, who's the manufacturer of the hardware that's where our ESXi server is running? It says VMware. Why? Because we are running our ESXi server as a nested environment on VMware Workstation Player. That's why it's showing VMware right here. For those of you who actually have picked Oracle virtualization to run your ESXi server, you could have done that too, and it would have shown here Oracle virtualization. All right, model, the VMware model, CPU, this gives you more information about the things that we have picked during our virtualization or creation of VM. Host name, IP address, VM network, the data store. Right here is the more advanced configuration, the system information, date and time on the host, the install date, serial number, and so on. Right here, this is just a basic information. If you want to download the vCenter, what is vCenter, by the way? The vCenter is if you have multiple ESXi server and you want to manage it, you need the vCenter server. We don't have to worry about right now, so leave that. Create a new virtual machine. We will be creating it later on. Shut down if you want to shut down your ESXi server. Reboot, refresh, and few other options that you have available. Enter into maintenance mode. Maintenance mode, it does not mean that it's going to shut down your ESXi server. It only means that it will shut down all the virtual machines that are running on top of your ESXi server. Lockdown mode, once you lock it, nobody could create virtual machines or do anything to it. And there are a few other options that you should go through. On the left hand side, this is our navigation bar or navigation window. This is to manage the host, your ESXi server, if you wanted to make changes, services, user security, and administration type of work. This is the monitor. If you wanted to set the alerts or monitors on the ESXi server, you could do it here. Right here is when we're going to create virtual machines. Any new storage that you wanted to add, any new networking that you wanted to create, and it is just that simple, very straightforward. It does get a bit complicated as we go into more details, but if you are talking about just managing one ESXi server, it is very simple and easy. And if you have never actually touched ESXi server before, this is your first time, trust me, you should be proud and happy that you are here. You created your own ESXi server. Beautiful. I'll see you in the next video.